What
Yeah,
happened?
we're back. We're back. That's good.
Well, it looks
Okay,
like
should we get started? It is 7 o'clock. Should we just go ahead and jump in?
Yep.
And everybody can hear me good?
Yes.
All righty. Well, I wanted to welcome all the participants so far. And I wanted to thank everyone for putting the effort out, especially you, Melanie, and Dean, and Nancy Hawkins for helping get all this thing set up. You know, this is our first Healthy Living series, virtual, which we've never done before. So we've always recorded them, and we actually have live streamed them, but we've never kind of done it through this method. So I think that's great. You know, again, due to COVID, you know, presents a lot of challenges to us. And one thing I wanted to mention, we've talked about this on my radio show many times, is, you know, everybody talks about, you know, it kind of sounds like doom and gloom, and we get kind of this feeling of trepidation about anytime we mention the word COVID-19. And I started thinking about the fact about 3-4 months ago was, why don't we start having discussions to help train and teach people about wellness essentials, about immune essentials, so that we can have healthier bodies that can confront no matter what happens. We have a beautiful, amazingly wonderful immune system that is very complex, that I believe is very adaptive to no matter whatever confronts human beings. So tonight, you know, with you guys at the participants, I want to again thank you for that. At the end of the presentation, I wanted to just, I'll tell you now, I'll tell you then. We have on our website, on the Shop Now part, we have a little tab over by categories that is called Zoom. And that little Zoom button, when you hit that, there are products that Dean will be talking about some of these compounds and these plants. And if you're interested in purchasing any of those items, there's a coupon that is called Zoom 25. And anybody who will purchase, whether through the website or through the store, coming in, telling the staff that you participated and you have the Zoom 25 code, you will get a 25% discount as a way of our gift to you, as a way to say thank you. But it's also because we really want you to, if you've not actively participated in helping to bolster your immune complexes, this is what this is all about. So without further ado, Dean, I'm going to turn the screen and the whole presentation over to you. And we will have question and answers afterwards that are being typed in, and you guys can monitor those, and we would love those too, and any of the participants. So Dean, it's all yours.
Hey, thank you, Dave. It's good to be with you. Let me know if the audio is unclear, and I'll pick back up the phone receiver. But quite a topic to discuss with the launching of your virtual health information system. To be able to talk about immune essentials, I think is, I agree with you wholeheartedly. This picture, I was just out in the gardens earlier today, and the sunflowers are in full bloom, and of course, in Spanish, they're called the corona, the girasol, and the corona. And so I thought that was just the right picture to start us off here. Because you're right, when we get into a fearful situation, it's usually because we just don't have knowledge. The absence of knowledge breeds fear, and if we can understand our bodies and this amazing complex immune system, if we can nourish and fortify it, if we know what nutrients to particularly make sure that we have ample, adequate amounts of, then I think the fear abates. I think we're able to recognize that we are constantly challenged by unseen hordes and hosts of invaders, and so this kind of knowledge, this kind of opportunity that Mother Earth sets up for the consumers and for staff there, it's just a wonderful opportunity to remind ourselves of the various nutrients that plants produce and provide, so that we can support our immune system in its complexity. Just a little bit of early history of the immune system. Thucydides, the Greek historian, philosopher, a general and scientist, dubbed the father of scientific history. He was the first back in that plague that hit Athens to record in his war journal that there were people who would recover from the plague that could end up nursing the newly sick without contracting the illness a second time. That was back in 435, I believe, BC, that a plague hit Athens. And so he's credited with describing in his battle records this immune response, the acquired side of our immune system. And it's to him that the concept, like any fighting force, the immune system army marches on its stomach. So if our body is loaded with the right nutrients, like an army, in its many different divisions, many different strategies, our immune system can march for us and give us the very best response for whatever is around the corner. A little more recent history of the immune system, Eli Metchnikoff, dubbed the father of natural immunity, he discovered macrophages in 1882 and described that Pac-Man-like gobbling up of invaders and received the Nobel Prize for his the knowledge that he could share. White blood cells that engulf and destroy harmful microbes are the phagocytic phagocytic cells that are like Pac-Man and go and gobble up things that are trying to do us no good. He also developed the theory about lactic acid bacteria that we would later call probiotics, and would drink sour milk every day, lived to be a pretty long-lived and healthy life for Eli. And so that's another part of our more recent historical the history of the immune system. More recent findings back in 2018, this was published. A healthy immune system eliminates pathogens and maintains tissue homeostasis, the balance between the various competing tissues, including our tissues and the tissues of microbes and pathological organisms, through extraordinarily complex networks. Dave, you remember when we launched SystemWell and we would talk about the systems of immunity. But now we're talking about complex networks of systems of immunity. And these are composed of dozens of immune cell types, hundreds of non-immune cell types, hundreds of cytokines, chemokines, proteins, thousands of extra and intracellular factors, making up an arsenal, if well fed, an arsenal of innumerable strategic configurations. Really, we can fortify and build the optimal army of our immune system. And this goes beyond just these networks. We're now seeing that our immune system is integrated and symbiotic with the microbiome of our body. This published just this year in Trends of Plant Science, the interactions between medicinal plants and their bacterial microbiome in the production of bioactive compounds with therapeutic properties is emerging. And lo and behold, what goes around comes around. They're proposing that echinacea be the herb of where they continue to do research to understand this crosstalk, to understand this interactivity that you and I have with the biome, the probiotics of our gut. So we'll definitely talk about probiotics tonight, but it's just neat to know that echinacea is still in the current cutting-edge research proposed to be a complex food for the complex networks of our immune system. So your immune system has two major divisions. The innate side is what you were born with, and it gives you an immediate response to aggressors, against aggressors. Has all kinds of physiology, barriers and traps, enzymatic offense alarms, surveillance, policing. It has an A team of offensive immune strategy cells known as the natural killer cells, mast cells, white blood cells. These are always being produced, always in circulation. They're innate. They're always out there working and surveilling and helping to trap and helping to disarm and help to keep us on our game against the competition, the invisible competitors of viruses and microbes. These don't carry a grudge. They don't have an immunological memory, so they usually are not implicated in any autoimmune concerns, allergies, and overreactions and things of that nature. On the other side, you have the adaptive immune system. It's known as the acquired immune system. And this one is specifically targeting a particular pathogen or antigen. It's a specific response trying to attack us. And so it's not until you get exposed to that new pathogen that you trigger the adaptive immune side of immunity. There's a lag time between exposure and maximal response. So it's not immediate like the innate side. And your exposure leads to immunological memory. It keeps a blueprint of what you have built, this ultimate weapon, these B cells or lymphocytes that acquire the ability to generate the ultimate immune factor, the ultimate immune weapon. Anybody know the name of these weapons that we're referring to that we build on the adaptive division of our immune system? Starts with an A. Let's see if we've got people chatting away here. Oh, yeah, Melanie sent out an invitation. You're welcome to submit. There you go. Very good, Lori. The antibodies are exactly what we were looking for. These are the ultimate immune factor. These B cells become large plasma cells and produce thousands of antibodies. You produce millions of different antibodies and store a memory of millions of different blueprints for different antibodies to be able to withstand the next infection or if that same virus comes around again. How long does it take before you're protected? The Centers for Disease Control monitored this with the seasonal flu shots that they would dispense. They would test and see how long it took before a person took that vaccine and was able to build antibodies adequate to reach a threshold where they could claim immunity, that they would not experience a raging infection from that because they had already built antibodies specific to those that were in the vaccine or flu shot. So how long do you think it takes before you are protected? What is the delay time that your innate immune system has to keep you in the battle? How long does your innate immune system have to keep you in the battle until that ultimate weapon appears and fights on your defense against those new and original predators? Does anybody have a clue on that one? How long does it take? I don't see the chats coming in, so let's just go ahead and reveal that. It's about 2 weeks. Takes about 2 weeks for you to develop antibodies to the flu shot, and so that is presumed also the amount of time that it takes your body to produce antibodies against whatever has come in on that last breath or last touch of the tongue, touch of your face, getting into the different orifices of the body, sneaking in to wreak havoc on your system. So we're miserable if we have no other medicine but only hope, according to Shakespeare. But I want to provide you the hope of information and knowledge of the different nutrients that we can give the army of our immune system to really build the strategies, the complexity of those networks. I put them in a kind of a shield, and they are very much self-feeding. One particular area of the shield supports the next shield, segment of the shield, and so these are constantly building all of these strategies, communicating, interworking, needing nourishment, unique nutrients that can supply in the various segments that we put on this shield, giving our superwoman the ability to conquer and provide her best immune response. But first, before we even start about the nutrients, I've got to give you additional information on that time frame. We said it took 2 weeks to be able to build the antibodies to claim immunity, but that is only, according to the research from the Centers for Disease Control, if you are getting enough sleep at night. If you are getting less than 7 hours of sleep each night, it can take you 4 weeks, twice as long, to be able to produce the number of antibodies sufficient to claim immunity from whatever is bugging you of late. So, of course, this message is brought to you by those products that are going to help you get that foundational sleep fortification. It's during the sleep cycle that you're building a lot of these immune strategies, these immune factors, these immune cells, where you're giving them the ability to really be their most efficient, give your most efficient response to the hordes that are a part of our environment. So do look into those and make sure you are getting sleep so that you can cut that time back down to just 2 weeks to put that ultimate weapon online. But let's make sure that all the layers, all the areas of our immune system, all these factors have the nourishment that they need. That first outer layer is the skin. It's that first outer defensive protection, and it is covered with a mantle of acidity, the very oils that you and I secrete through the sebaceous glands. They provide a mantle of acidity, and acid is one of our most basic, most important layers of defense. We have various different tissue layers that depend on acids to reduce the replicative rate of bacteria. Bacteria cannot replicate near as fast in an acidic medium. So the oils of our skin are made up of fatty acids, and that acidity helps to reduce, slow down the rate at which bacteria can replicate. And if we can stay on top of that, you won't find the others opportunistic. If we're not compromised by a bacterial stress, then we're going to be able to devote more resources and energy to replicating and building antibodies when a real virus, a new virus comes along. So don't let your skin dry out and provide cracks and cregs and opportunities for microbes to get a toehold into your person. Watch yourself during the summer. Don't let your skin get sunburned. Watch the cuts and abrasions. I'm not sure about antimicrobial soaps. I don't use them, so I put a question mark on those. I do frequently wash, but I like to restore that oil right to the skin so that I'm not washing away the protective acid mantle of the natural oils of my skin. So I like to use Hydroplenish. I get my essential fatty acids in, aloe vera, coconut oil. I have a bottle of coconut oil and olive oil right there on the bathroom counter so that after a shower, after washing hands, I can restore that nice acid mantle and keep that sublime range of medium chain triglycerides from the bottle and put it right on my hands. After a shower, all over my body. 1 day, 2 days, olive oil, and another day it might be coconut oil. But I like to restore that acid mantle just as quickly as possible after washing. Caprylic acid, capric acid, lauric acid, these are all known to have an antimicrobial. The lauric acid inhibits strep mutans that are the primary bacteria that cause tooth decay. The caprylic acid reduces streptococcus and candida. So they have their own antimicrobial nature, and just the acidity of these acids helps to slow down the rate of replication. Just another use in the bathroom. We have bottles of it, and in its many forms in the kitchen as well. But I wanted to make sure you understood that that first layer of the skin is a barrier and that it is able to defend you through the use of the essential fatty acids of the oils of your skin. Let's go to the inside. The first layer of defense on the inside is your mucous membranes. And mucin is the term. Mucin is what we want our body to have plenty of nourishment to be able to produce mucin in abundance so that the mucus that we generate, a liter of it a day, a liter of mucus you produce. So don't listen to those commercials that tell you mucus is a monster and you've got to get rid of it all. You need to make sure that you are feeding your body well-balanced nutrients to keep the mucus fluid, slippery and fluid, so that you never notice that you're producing a liter of mucus a day, and so that it doesn't get dehydrated and get sticky and you're not overloading your body with too many rich proteins, caseinate proteins, so that it becomes so thick that you're always having to clear it out, blow it out, snort it out, cough it out. You want to make sure that that viscosity and the solubility of your mucus is fluid enough so that it just runs across the membranes, slides across the membranes, traps whatever microbes and viruses you're breathing in or consuming within your food, and then that can convey it to your lymphatic ducts, where you will start producing antibodies even before the infection can begin. Even before a virus gets a hold of your cell, gets inside and starts producing other viruses, this elegant, simple layer of immunity on the inside, the mucous membrane, can trap those, into the lymphatic stream if it's fluid, and get you starting to build antibodies before the first virus even gets inside of one of your cells and starts to infect you. So it's a very important, elegant first line of defense within, and it's one that requires staying hydrated. That's why everyone tells you drink plenty of fluids during the cold and flu season. And it requires a good balance of proteins, including plant proteins, and it requires mucilage, a term that we don't, not a lot of us are familiar with, but mucilage is coming from the types of plants like okra. Okra is that slippery substance, astragalus, aloe vera. Marshmallow root is a convenient, easy way. If you don't like eating gumbo every day, try a marshmallow root capsule. We have them in the Acid Ease products. We use marshmallow in the Acid Ease, and let's see if I can put that so you can see it. There's marshmallow in that one. There's marshmallow on its own, a standalone product. I try to get a little marshmallow in my diet each and every day when it's not growing, and when my okra isn't growing out in the gardens, and my kids enjoy marshmallow treats made from real marshmallow root much better than they do okra. So, but getting that mucilage into your diet each and every day will help to keep that mucus fluid, so that you never even notice that you are producing about 1 liter of mucus a day. Another thing that will provide some of that mucilage, plus bioflavonoids that are very, helps to reduce inflammation in the lining, the mucus lining of the gut, is our deglycyrrhizated licorice, both the extract in the capsules and in the chewable tablets. This one is known and clinically studied to go in and help support a healthy mucous membrane and tame the lining of your gut. From the mouth all the way through, the entire digestive tract responds to the flavonoids and the mucilage that is characteristic of licorice, especially when the glycyrrhinic acid has been removed, so you don't have to worry about increased risk of higher hypertension. If a person is prone to hypertension, glycyrrhinic acid can tend to exacerbate that risk. But so we remove it so that it's safe to use on a routine basis and soothe the digestive tract, support mucus formation, preserve the integrity of the lining, and calm irritation and inflamed mucosal surfaces. That's our DGL. If you can't remember deglycyrrhizated licorice, you can just say that darn good licorice. That's what the doctor from Canada would always call it. Much easier. I'm sure Melanie remembers his name. It probably will come to me.
Gaetano Morello.
Morello was one that used it, but the first person was it Gaetano was the first person to couch that term? I don't remember.
I'm not sure if he was the first, but I heard him say it numerous times.
Yeah, that's the person I think of.
Yeah.
Very good old Gaetano.
Yeah.
Let's go from that first layer inside to the very next layer. So you've got this mucus that's on the surface. It's the first thing there to trap microbes. And what is actually helping you generate mucin? What is actually taking the mucilage from your diet and helping you secrete and produce mucin to keep your mucous membrane fluid and slippery. That's that next layer, the second layer, and it is basically probiotics. Probiotics congregate around your goblet cells or the mucus cells, the cells that are producing this layer of mucus on the surface, pushing it out and having it flow across the top of your cells. That is from the layer of probiotics that is just beneath the surface, the mucus itself. And so they are helping you to produce that mucus, and they colonize and they take the mucilage of your diet and help you to produce mucin to keep that membrane fluid and functional. And of course, Eli Metchnikoff, we already mentioned how good the offense is. The best defense is a good offense. If you don't want the bad bugs growing in your gut, then you ought to have the kind of single cell bacteria that you do want growing. Plant what seeds you do want in that garden, intestinal garden. And that, of course, the seeds that I'm referring to are probiotics. You can get them from kimchi, from sauerkraut, barong Ista. Vitamin C is a nice acid, but Fortify is what we'll focus on in these next couple of slides, because these probiotics are a way of helping us to reverse the aging of our immune system. This was published by the National Institutes of Health. With modern lifestyle and human life expectancy increasing, health in old age is of increasing concern. Probiotic supplementation could offer means to reverse some age-related changes in intestinal microflora composition and help maintain the aging immune system. So even the FDA, the National Institutes of Health, are recognizing the importance of having healthy probiotics as a part of our immune strategy. What they also noted in this same article is that only a few probiotic strains have ever even been clinically studied on immune function in this aging population. And so it really makes a lot of sense to me to be looking for products that have clinical research on their very specific strains, so that you can find the very specific strains that have clinical research showing that it can help support healthy immune function even as we get older. And of course, the family of Fortify, Nature's Way has been making probiotics in encapsulated form. Was one of the very first companies. I still have not heard of anyone who has come out with the entire line earlier than Nature's Way has. So they've really garnered a lot of expertise, a lot of experience in providing you formulations of probiotics that make a lot of sense to help fortify this inner layer, this second layer on the inside of your immune system in a number of different strengths. 50 billion extra strength, 30 billion everyday strength for men, for women, for everyday care, for 50 plus, just a whole range of those, and just a real nice blend of clinically studied strains. More than just getting any old Acidophilus, there are multiple strains of Acidophilus. And so that's what these letters and things mean on the back of the supplement facts box. You get these acronyms that are referring to a particular strain of bifidobacteria, a particular strain of lactobacteria. And that way the researchers can differentiate. And there's a lot of research now. The focus, the emphasis on the research on probiotics right now is comparing, taking a number of different strains and seeing which ones actually do perform to support immune health and which ones not so much. And so we've taken that research very seriously and looked at the various strains that are available to be able to put in our formulations. And these you can look up yourself on PubMed and pull up some of the research on these very specific strains. And it's nice that Nature's Way has long had the ability to identify with true ID these specific strains so that you're not getting whatever lactobacillus might be in the air around the tank where we are trying to culture these up for commercial supply. This one for men's is one of the newer iterations, one of the newer formulations in the Fortify line, and we incorporated selenium in that. It turns out that selenium is something that really helps support probiotics to make that selenium effective for your immune system, to be nourished by selenium. So it's a nice pairing in the men's formulation to have that selenium, but it's these particular strains that are clinically researched to really show a difference in everyday care for men's. Some of the very same strains are in all of the combinations, but at differing amounts. The differing amounts of these strains is what makes it more fine-tuned towards men's health, towards women's health, towards 50-plus health, as opposed to just the everyday health. All of them have a little prebiotic, a little chicory root fiber, the food that these probiotics tend to enjoy and benefit from, referring to the selenomethionine, which is the form that is used in there. These are some of the researchers, just synopsis of things that came about from this particular element. I'll just, for time's sake, just turn you to some of the animal studies. We don't perform animal studies, but it's interesting to cite some of the things that are being learned. Rodents in this particular study consuming too little selenium develop significantly more harmful lung inflammation. Selenium, inadequate intake of selenium boosts damage caused by influenza. So we're getting to learn more and more. Selenium was one of the first mineral that we identified that if you didn't get enough of, certain viruses would tend to mutate to attack the cardiovascular system. So that's why it tends to be considered a men's, because we still are under the misconception that men suffer cardiovascular disease more than women. The numbers are still there to be able to, say that yes, there are more men that suffer, but it is the #1 cause of death for women too. So selenium is certainly something that's important to all of us. Testing to ensure probiotic strains listed on the label are actually in the product. That's the True ID, and getting those research strains into this formulation family of Fortify is just a real nice way to get the very best to support that second layer on the inside. And lo and behold, when you've got a good flora garden, when you own your biome, or when you can just say, I own it, I am feeding it, I am nourishing it, I am giving myself seed on a daily basis so that I grow in my garden what I want, so that it will squeeze out the weeds, the microbes and other things from growing in the mucous membrane. This garden produces all kinds of acids. And like we mentioned before, acids help slow down the rate of bacterial replication. So you've got your own organic acid garden going, and lo and behold, when it is generating, when it is producing acids for you, we find that the medicinal plants that you incorporate into your diet as supplements, as the primary food sources, provide prebiotics like the chicory root that we put in these, but that these medicinal plants, their tannins and anthocyanins, are intensively metabolized by your microflora garden, by your probiotics, leading to the generation of small bioavailable and potentially bioactive metabolites. You can literally make your own diet specific to your own immune needs if you've got a healthy, friendly flora garden flourishing that interacts with the various metabolites, the various substrates, various foundational elements found in your diet. In this case, tannins and anthocyanins. We're going to be talking about both of those. We've got products that are rich in tannins and rich in anthocyanins that are so critical to supporting the homeostasis of your immune system, supporting additional layers of immunity. So let's go to those now. Let's take these acids in this second layer and then finally get to our actual cells. So we've got the mucous membrane, then we've got the colonized bacteria, probiotic bacteria, and they're all on top of us, our cells, something that carries our DNA. That's the third layer. And tannins will help clear out the junk, clear out the thickened mucus, the phlegm that is inappropriate. If you want to talk about mucus as a monster, it's the phlegm that you should be referring to. Mucus is an important immune strategy. It should be fluid and slippery, but if it becomes phlegmatic, that's a problem. And you definitely want to use something like the tannins of Umca to clear that junk out so that the microbes don't have a chance to infect and infest. So we've got a huge family of Umca products to share with you. I think you've probably already picked out your favorite, but just in case, there's so many different delivery forms. My daughter is thrilled with this sore throat relief spray that I helped to formulate before I went back and became an independent consultant to Nature's Way. I was actually their director of new product development and helped to bring about the sore throat spray. But love the tablets. They're easy to carry with you on a plane and have. Still use the original drops all the time. It's just a very economical way to get Umca into my diet. And the cold and flu has the elderberry. I didn't hear back from Dave. You're welcome to chime in to make sure that you've got some of these so I'm not wasting the breath.
Oh, we have all that. Yeah, Dane, we have them all.
Oh, great.
Got a whole shelf full of them.
The cold and flu has additional homeopathic properties with the Alpha CF blend from our Boricky and Taffel sister company. We've incorporated that along with some elderberry, and that's what makes the cold and flu in these SKUs that have the purple packaging. The original formulation, which is more the single ingredient Umca, is in the blue packaging, and just all kinds of delivery forms for your convenience, for your preference. Here's some research you may not have seen. It just came out recently. At work preventatively, this gives us a little closer, a little clearer picture of how Umca actually works. And the actual scientific nomenclature, the designator that we use for Umca is extract of Pelargonium pseudoides, EPS 7630. So you can look up the numerous dozens of studies that have been published for Umca to help you to shorten the duration and reduce the severity of all things upper respiratory tract: bronchitis, sinusitis, tonsillitis, nasopharyngitis, rhinitis. You name it, it's been studied, and the duration has been shortened and the symptoms reduced with the use of Umca, which in the research, in the science, in the clinical studies is referred to as EPS 7630 if you'd like to look that up yourself. But what this recent research found was that it is the specific epithelial cells, that first layer of cells, which is now the third layer that we've talked about, but that epithelial lining is where Umca, these tannins, really come into play. And they downregulate the cell membrane docking proteins so that viruses and other things can't attach to these docking membranes because the tannins are at place, are there reducing, downregulating these docking proteins and upregulating your host defense proteins. So it's an interesting dual activity going on. It's reducing the places for viruses to attach while increasing the proteins that act in your defense. And that was some new information that I wanted to share with those of you who are already have seen the success of Umca to help shorten the duration of upper respiratory tract complaints. So yes, EPS 7630, or otherwise known here in the U.S. as Umca, reduce the replication of viruses. Thus, preventive usage during seasonal virus epidemics may reduce the likelihood of infection, as published back in February of last year. And lo and behold, when it's used especially with children, in this case this study was with children, this is a meta-analysis of 6 different studies. So they grouped together these studies instead of looking at them one by one. And they found that people who use Umca, rather than, try to go with just OTC products and then end up having to take acetaminophen or antifebrile products, they found that if you would use UMCA, that you were much less likely to need the use of the antipyretic or pain-relieving OTC products like acetaminophen or acetaminophen, however you pronounce it. Widely used to improve the comfort of the child, but may cause medically unneeded antipyresis and rare but potentially serious side effects. So let the body work. If it does need a little bit of fever, stay hydrated. Monitor it well. Don't let it get spike. Obviously, go to your doctor if you are in a serious fever situation. But a little minor increase in fever is an excellent way for your body to move those white blood cells much faster, to get them to areas of infection much quicker. And of course, if you're using UMCA, according to this study, you'll find that 74%, I should say 70%, will already be back at school if school were in session right now. By treatment end, 70% of the kids that were taking UMCA were back at school, and only 25% of the kids that were taking the placebo were back at school in that same time frame. So you can see how dramatically shortened the duration of that upper respiratory tract infection was. In this case with, I think it was bronchitis, meta-analysis of EPS 7630. I think it was bronchitis that the treatment group of these 6 different studies, acute respiratory tract disorders, is what is stated on that slide. But it is a special extract of Pelargonium pseudoides 1X. Lots of studies, lots of people participating, clinically proven to shorten the duration and reduce the severity of all of these conditions. Let's go a little bit deeper. Now that we've touched the cells, now we have a whole system of circulation that is supplying blood to each of these cells. The nourishment that we've been taking into our diet has to come from somewhere, and so it travels on that distribution highway of the bloodstream. And there are nutrients like flavonoids that are bioavailable, that do get taken up into the bloodstream and then provide additional surveillance for us. So let's go into that lymphatic and blood streams and see what we can incorporate into our diet to add flavonoids that will help us to help with surveillance. And of course, Sambucus is at the top of my list for sources of bioavailable, bioactive flavonoids, another large family of products, and some new ones that I'd like to show you if you haven't had a chance to see them on the shelves there at Mother Earth. But first, again, another pitch for the True ID that Nature's Way is now routinely using, another layer of analysis to give you the very best of quality. Because there's a number of different cultivars of black elderberry. It's not just Sambucus nigra, but very many different cultivars, species, strains, if you will. And so you want to get the True ID to certify the ones that are generating more of these anthocyanins that I mentioned earlier, because it is the genetics of the fruit and those particular cultivars or varieties that one will produce a lot more anthocyanins than the other, and the anthocyanin content is everything. The researchers are saying anthocyanins are the cat's meow of immune bioflavonoids. The content can vary across species, environmental factors, sun, radiation, temperature, soil content, nitrogen, phosphorus. So we really take care to get you the very best cultivar, get the one that produces the most anthocyanins for your good health. And I don't know if you've ever asked, where does the term Sambucus come from? Well, that, of course, is from the person who developed the very nomenclature by which all life is now categorized, the binomial. And so we've got that coming from Linnaeus, the scientist that developed the binomial nomenclature of genus and species. And he knew that Sambuca, the Greek Sambuca, was the term for the sackbut, and that morphed in the Latin to Sambucus, because the sackbut, an instrument that was made of wood, a flute, would be made simply out of the hollowed out stems of the Sambucus, the elder tree. And so he called it, named it by its genus name, named that genus Sambucus. But it comes from the sackbut, and that's why I brought my what some people would call a fanny pack. I call a butt sack, because it carries my sackbut out into the field when I'm going out to collect elderberries, when I'm going out to collect Sambucus. I think I even have, Dave, I saved the last gulps or two of the elderberry tonic that I made last year. We're going to go out and harvest again in August.
Yeah.
But I wanted to save some in the fridge so that I could drink a toast to your health during this Zoom conference. But that is that small harp or flute. Lots of names, lots of species, and lots of cultivars. Let's see if I can share something with you. So there's the sack butt. I'll put it on my butt sack and
Yay!
give us a little break from all the words on this. But Sambucus, by any other name, would smell as magical. Varieties like Sporondio, but of course, Nature's Way is looking at this variety, the Hashberg variety. It's the one that we use exclusively and have the farmers grow and cultivate, because it will generate many more anthocyanins than the Ocoee, the Wildwood, the Sporondio, or any of the others. And so we get those bioactive flavonoids or anthocyanins right into your system by harvesting those, concentrating the extract, making a full spectrum extract, and then getting them all the way down to a solid extract so that they're self-preserved, so we don't need to use a lot of antimicrobials, a lot of preservatives. We make a solid extract, like is our expertise, and that stabilizes these anthocyanins so very readily. And then we build them back up into syrups and the like. This new line of cough syrups adds a little bit of honey and a little bit of vinegar and even some English ivy syrup. That was our bronchial soothe from the Enzymatic Therapy sister company. And English ivy, it's what's happening. Did you get that one, Dave? I know. It's a little too clever.
I did
what's
get.
happening? What's happening? I'll tell you. You know, when kids balk at some of the flavors of some of these supplements that we know are so good for their immune system, well, we can pull out the ivy syrup and this particular Sambucus, the honeyberry, and we can pour a little bit into the jar, and we can share with them what's happening. And so what's happening is the saponins that come from English ivy are the wonderful foaming agent. They're kind of like the soap. Can you see that in the camera lens? It's just able to, see if I can get a better connection if I pick up my receiver. Is that a little better quality for sound? But you can see that foam, that layer of foam. That's what's saponin. That's the saponin action of saponins that are coming from English ivy. That's a soap that's going to help clean out that layer of junk throughout the digestive tract and help to keep your immune system performing properly. In the research, it's known to reduce acute lung inflammation and is confirmed an effective and safe treatment of cough in children. So you might want to give that a look at and do that saponin shake if kids are still a little bit leery to take English ivy and Sambucus, as well as the vinegar and honey in that particular family. Vinegar has a little different flavor, and some of has been quoted as saying it's what fear smells like. So it might be the warrior drink approach to convince your kids to take our Sambucus honeyberry for kids. But if they will, they will recognize that acids are our friends, and that vinegar, acetic acid, just like vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is so important to preventing common colds, and folic acids and lactic acids of our probiotics and the amino acids of our proteins. Our body, the immune system, has been built on a system of using acids to keep bacteria from overwhelming us. If we didn't have our biome, if we weren't generating those organic acids, we would quickly succumb to infections. Hydrochloric acid, one of our most acidic agents that our body produces from the potassium of our diet. That's why potassium is so important. The nucleic acids and sialic acids.
Hey, Dean,
all
excuse
of those.
me.
Go ahead, Dave.
We're picking up a little background feedback noise. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
There's a couple people that aren't muted.
I'm going to mute us all again,
You want
but
to
I'll let participants unmute as they need to, or just chat away if you have a question or comment, and Melanie will pick those up on chat. But I have now muted us all. Thanks, Dave. I hope that makes it. But we've got lots of acids that we need in our diet and need to as the basis of our immune response. Goblet cells is where those acids come from. We've mentioned goblet cells earlier. This goblet cell is where the mucus is coming from, but it's the very same vesicle that is producing the acids and the enzymes for our digestion. So this is a very important, this proton pump, this goblet cell, very important to us. I demonstrate, I show you this so that I can help encourage you to avoid using proton pump inhibitors. You don't want to stymie the production of the acids and enzymes that are produced here simply because you have not fed your immune system, the mucous membrane, adequate amounts of mucilage and water and feel that you are producing too much acid. We don't produce too much acid. There's only a very minor, small fraction of those who are genetically disposed to overproducing acid. It's rather that we are not underproducing the mucous membrane that protects us from our acids that gives us heartburn and ulcers and that kind of concern. So please do build up that first layer and make sure that you can then use those proton pumps with the probiotics that will then take the nutrients of your diet, the mucilage, and make that mucin and make sialic acids. Sialic acids are in abundance throughout the body, and NANA is one of the acronyms that is used for one of these longer names of these sialic acids. These are very important to us. They cover our cells. They are ubiquitous. There's so many of them. They're kind of like the hemlock tree there in West Virginia that produces an abundance of cones to kind of get the birds to be tired before they actually find a cone that has any seed in it. The hemlock trees there in West Virginia will produce a carpet of cones, but only a small fraction will have any seeds in them, and that's one of their strategies to ensure the next generation. That's what sialic acids are in our body. You produce lots and lots of sialic acid. It's ubiquitous. It's all over the place. And it is what these bad bugs, bacteria and viruses, like to attach to. And so if you are producing a healthy amount of mucus with a healthy fluidity and have the probiotics and the diet that you need, these sialic acids will then be another blocking agent, a decoy to function in soluble mucins, which are secreted into the airways and carry large amounts of sialic acids. Your pathogens will then bind to these sialic acids and float away to the lymphatic stream to then be processed and make antibodies for them. Viruses attach to this. Influenza attaches to these sialic acids, and so do some plant nutrients. Sambucus, elderberry, Sambucus nigra lectins bind to sialic acids, and so there's a connection there to the anthocyanins that I mentioned of Sambucus. These anthocyanins will then attach to the hemagglutinin of a virus, the virus uses hemagglutinin to attach to you and I, but in the presence of anthocyanins, if they're in your bloodstream, then that virus is coated with them, and they play tag and freeze tag so that the virus is not able to find a way into your cell and will then not be able to get inside and infect you. And that, of course, puts a smile on the face of your cell and gives your macrophages a chance to find that virus before it hides. So playing tag, the anthocyanins plays tag so the viruses can't play hide and seek and cause an infection to spread. So Sambucus is a very special source of these flavonoids, these anthocyanins. We pick the berries at optimal ripeness to get the very most anthocyanins for you. They're 100% hand-picked, and we use only that Hashberg variety that generates the most anthocyanins. They're important to the color. We want people that can verify that these berries are fully ripened before they're harvested. That's why we hand pick all of these, and we do it without bruising, without damage, because that can reduce anthocyanin content, and that's why it's nice. The hand in this picture shows that it's not all smudged up with the deep red and purple and dark, almost black or nigra flavonoid pigments, because that can definitely reduce the amount of anthocyanins that end up in your Sambucus products. And the more ripe it is, by 100-fold, you get more anthocyanins. A machine can't really tell if all of those are ripe, so we still hand-pick these to get the very most anthocyanins for you. Let's go even deeper than the blood and lymphatic streams where flavonoids flow and go to the deep bone marrow, where white blood cells are generated, where you are maturing the T cells and the B cells and other glands and nodes, is where this white cells will be specialized and will mature, and the B cells become plasma cells to make your antibodies when and if you need them. These are still a part of the innate immune system and need to be fed, but it is those B cells that can, when you need to adapt, be used, deployed strategically in the adaptive side of your immune system. These can last from weeks to hours and have a very specific tissues that they tend to flock to and stay within. They are activated by cytokines, and these are just some of the herbs and foods that really help to build the white blood cell factors that are your A-team, offensive team. They start out in the marrow of the bone, and along with red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets all coming therefrom. It's those T cells and B cells that are also known as lymphocytes, and the natural killer cells. These are all very important A-team. The role of vitamin C is critical to these neutrophils. They will accumulate and are used as an acid to help destroy pathogens that these neutrophils come in contact with, up to 50 and 100 times more vitamin C inside a neutrophil than in the surrounding blood. It can help with chemotaxis to get those white blood cells out of the bloodstream, and phagocytosis to gobble them up like the Pac-Man model that I mentioned and destroy them. All that's the vitamin C role that is helping you to prevent the occurrence up to 50% reduction of incidence of common cold with just 500 milligrams supplemental vitamin C. Vitamin D in the immune function. I guess my point that I'm getting across here, and need to move along since we've now reached our hour limit here, that we need a range of nutrients. And things like Alive that I helped formulate for Nature's Way is one way to get the most broad array of plant nutrients to fortify these many complex layers of your immune system. Vitamin D helps with T and B cells, with peptides and macrophages, very important immune-enhancing and immunosuppressive activities. Zinc, we've heard so much about during this season. The deficiency of zinc causes an imbalance and can lead to an increased risk of autoimmune reactions. A lack of zinc decreases natural killer cell lytic activity, the ability to destroy bacteria and viruses. and these can be corrected with zinc supplementation. And so we put all of these in, plus thousands and tens of thousands of micronutrients coming from a variety of plant sources, the green foods, the mushrooms, the fruits, the vegetables. We're using the methylated forms, which is an actual the method by which the body deals with toxins, stress, and infections. We're now using those forms. And life is, the simplest form is a single cell. We've got 37 sextillion cell activities per second, and it's only the kinds of cells that plants generate that have all the same unique vulnerabilities to stress. They get infected by viruses and bacteria too. So all these different, the difference between an animal cell, our cells, and plant cells are very, very few. We don't have chloroplasts, for one thing, or a hard cell wall. But other than that, plant and animal cells have evolved to have to defend themselves, and so the many different nutrients that plants produce will help to prevent the damage to our cells and prevent the loss of those cells in our immune strategies. And it's these 10,000s of different phytochemicals that have been known and identified, and still so many that are unknown, that can keep up with us. These are pictures from my garden. As you have seen Dave's gardens as well, these all come out of my gardens. And we know that we need these thousands of phytonutrients to fortify and nourish. I'll just quickly go through some of the lists that James Duke put together when he was working for the Department of Agriculture into the phytochemistry database. 411 different phytonutrients in carrots, and that's just one fruit and one veggie that's found in the dozen or so of each, that is just a smattering of which is put into each of those alive products. And, of course, the mushrooms, an excellent way to get another 238 and counting. There's still so many that have to be named of these phytonutrients into your diet and help fortify the many different immune cells. Mushrooms are known to produce and help superoxide and neon production, lymphokines, phagocytes. We've got so many different things in our immune system. Only plant nutrients could keep up with fortifying and helping us to build these numerous strategies. These mycelia of mycodefense with vitamin C and ginger root is another way to build more of this mushroom nutrition into your diet, into your body. And if you do have some experience with autoimmune conditions, with allergies, I'd like you to know about chaga. Chaga, chaga, choo-choo goes the immune food train. The antioxidants of chaga have been shown to really help reduce the irritation and inflammation that accompanies a mast cell rupture when we are experiencing an allergic reaction, be it seasonal allergies, animal dander, pollens, or even food allergies. The mast cell is rupturing prematurely, and the antioxidants of chaga are able to stabilize those mast cells to really reduce the immuno overreaction that we experience as an allergic reaction. I'm talking about formulas, just getting a variety of nutrients. This new Alive Every Day has some of that vitamin C, some of that echinacea, some of that zinc, and of course a core 100% daily value of vitamins A and D, and then the oregano oil in there, plus our orchard fruits and garden blends. This is a soft gel, so it's quite convenient to take and just an easy one to take with you. I love the formulation, still available as System Well. I formulated this one for Nature's Way so many years ago and still have it on the shelves and still give it to my kids and their families for Christmas. It's just an excellent way to really have the multivitamin of immunity. We don't have time to go over the rapid defense. I'm sure Dave can tell you about that at Mother Earth, and how we can take our white blood cells and really feed them to be much more active. We can actually have food that can improve the natural killer cell function. It's those little squiggly lines on the natural killer cells that are known as clusters of differentiation. And yes, there is a food that can actually make those more capable, more active in our innate immune system to go in and find the stress cells that are harboring viruses and lyse them, get rid of them with the zinc sword that natural killer cells use. This is an important part of keeping you in the battle, and I want you to know that keeping you in the battle is what we're trying to do nutritionally, to give you all the nourishment, all the fortification that you need, because how long is it before you can gain immunity from something new that you're exposed to? You got to stay in the battle at least for 2 weeks, and
That's
if you're
right.
not getting enough sleep, 4 weeks. And, you know, there are some viruses that can really wreak havoc long before 2 weeks span time counts down. So get all the nutrition, get all the different layers, get them all fortified, get them adequately nourished to keep you in the battle is the closing statement there. And I want to thank you for your time, and I want to give you hope. There is no medicine like hope, no incentive so great, and no tonic so powerful as expectation of something tomorrow. And when you're able to put your hand to doing yourself good, of providing your body nutrition, of getting the sleep that you need, that hope can come in and it will displace fear. Fear will only drag your immune reactions down. So use that hope and activate that hope by making choices to improve your diet, by getting that good sleep, by staying hydrated, getting these good foods into your body, and you will have an excellent response to whatever might be coming down the pipeline. Dave, thanks for letting me take some time with your Mother Earth team.
Well, Dean, I really appreciate that immensely. Great wealth of information. And again, thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, you can go into the chat and you can answer, you can type your question out real quick. And I'm sure Melanie, if you're still there, you can help maybe monitor the Dean. Dean, you can probably see those, I'm sure, maybe.
Yep, I'm still here.
I have
Okay,
pulled
cool.
those up. Lori, the EFAs are the essential fatty acids. Those EFAs we get, we call them essential because they're only available to us from external sources. We can't generate them, like alpha-linoleic acid, like DHA, like EPA. These are the things that come to us from fish oils, from the neuromins, from algae oils. We have in the Alive 2 different types of algae, the chlorella and the Phlos aquae, and these are the sources that fish get those same EFAs from. But EFA stands for the essential fatty acids that are critical to producing that nice rich acid mantle on the skin. I guess Dave already answered that. I'm just reading down the list.
Okay. No, thanks for the elaboration there, Dean. I appreciate that immensely. I also just wanted to mention again, you know, folks, any of the products, compounds that Dean has been talking about, you can go to our Shop Now website. There is a tab on the left under categories says Zoom, and you can hit that. It'll bring up the page of the items. And just remember, if you go to checkout, make sure you use the promo code ZOOM25 to get the 25% discount. We do appreciate your participation in coming in and joining us tonight. I always thank Nature's Way. Dean, I just hope we get a chance to see each other again soon. We can have a toast in person, man.
Me too. I'm all for that. Eager and ready.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. I don't see any questions, so I really appreciate Nature's Way. Appreciate all you guys, and have a wonderful evening, and stay safe, well, and happy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome.
All right. Wow.
Hi.
Power pack.
Good job, Dean.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melanie.
You got a lot in that hour, let me tell you.
Yeah, he did.
You got a lot in that hour. And that's okay. Hey, that's good, yeah?
Take care, everyone.
I'm sure we will have questions about it, and I think it'll be great because I got a question. Are we going to have this recorded so we could share with our staff?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I've got a lot of staff came on. I could see some of their names, but I know some couldn't make it. Some were still working in the store and stuff. So We appreciate that. And I hope this is a format that you guys can grow on, you know.